Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la
Afternoon and welcome to the opening meetings or the ITB 2021-34626 bidding for the acquisition of medical devices and supplies for the consolidated purchase for the supply of the second semester in 2022. We are going to start with today's program as follows. First, our director, Laura Carlech, the project manager for medication for UNOPS, will welcome us. Afterwards, I'll explain the methodology for the opening of biddings. Then my colleagues Maria Fernanda Cabrera will open up the biddings in insourcing and will demonstrate the content of the report. Then we'll make some recommendations before closing the event. Laura, go ahead, please. Thank you, Federico. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody who's joining us today from the UNOPS, UN Office for Project Services, as well as INSABI, Institute of Health for Welfare. On behalf of Dr. Calderon, we'll welcome you and appreciate your presence. Joining us from Mexico, both our offers are representatives for the chambers and associations, as well as colleagues and people interested in this public bidding process for medical supplies that will open in a few minutes. Throughout the last year and a half, UNOPS has been working in a coordinated way, hand in hand, not only with INSABI, but with all health organizations, working on three main objectives. First, to supply with quality products for all Mexican market, at the same time as providing supply and boosting expansion in our suppliers market with transparent practices in all our bidding processes. The objective of it is to save also budget that will have an effect to all those who really need it. In line with these objectives and with this transformation project, since this is not a bidding project, but a transformation project in the acquisition market for medical supplies, we have acquired throughout 20 and 21 over 800 million pieces, both for medication as medical supplies. With these introductions, I'd like to tell you about the successes and results that we have had in this path that we have worked together with all health institutions in INSABI, with the association, the chamber, and all representatives that have joined us. At the same time, this amount of pieces was able to be acquired through 161 suppliers that we have. These suppliers that have gone through due diligence processes, because transparency and access to information is one of our values. Through continuous management, we have estimated a savings of even 11,000 million pesos in Mexican pesos, which come from 7 different countries, including Mexico. Today, we have acquired through the purchase orders, which are the contracts for our vendors, over 444,000 million pesos. We're constantly since last year, and we continue providing supplies until June of this year. Today, we're going to open up the process that will enable us to continue with this consistent supply until December 2022. We are happy for receiving the support and great coordination that we have had to be able to achieve all of these results, because we think these are everybody's results, because we have worked hand in hand. Now, given this joint effort, we have been able to incorporate improvements for our bidding processes. We believe in UNOPS that lessons learned and the process of continuous improvement is basic for improvement. Now, let's discuss the noteworthy aspects that we think has improved the situation. First, we have fewer documentation to present for those vendors that have been pre-qualified during the bidding process that happened with UNOPS and INSABI. We had certain vendors that had been pre-approved. These vendors in this bidding process won't have to present certain documents that were demanded to be presented in the previous period because now they are pre-qualified. For example, a description of write-offs or a balance or a specific type of guarantee. So we think that with these improvements, the timing for applying for this bidding process is reduced. Another aspect that we believe is very valuable for us and for the relationship that we want to maintain and long term with our vendors are long term agreements. The vendors that are constantly supplying every day have many of them long-term agreements, which means that the purchase order will be executed, but the door is open to acquire additional quantities if required. We have also incorporated the presentation of the sanitary registry during the adjudication process without requiring any certification. So any vendor that is in process of generating this will see the management facilitated when presenting the bidding in our system. Now, for all vendors, we have also generated a version in English for the bidding process, and we believe that this will be very valuable to have a faster and more direct access to information. The ruling document is in Spanish, but this makes easier all the reading of documents that we have. Also, we have incorporated flexibility in the requirements to consortiums. As a highlighting point in this initiative, I can tell you that the consortium leader is not required to be the director of the health registry, which will make companies to work together, which is one of our objectives, to generate synergies that get the Mexican people back and improve everybody's condition. And now, finally, something that is very relevant for us is that we have included sustainability criteria, and all the vendors have joined us with this, and we really appreciate it. Likewise, within this sustainability criteria, we have also included diversity, gender, and inclusion criteria, which are relevant topics for UNOPS and for our society in compliance with Agenda 2030. Now, what are we seeking with this improvement? Not only what I've just talked about and what we have implemented, but also the improvements that we are about to implement. And in this regard, I wanted to say that we want to boost the participation of small and medium companies or enterprises together with INSABI. They're very aligned with us in this topic, and to promote participation of companies or women, companies owned by women. So we are about to launch a survey to understand precisely how the market behaves together with the chamber and the association, and we're working hand in hand with them, so we will be in touch with you soon enough. So all these improvements and future projects, we want to work with you as well as long-term relationships makes us want to work closer together in sustainable aspects. And I want to highlight this topic. What do we mean by sustainable purchase in UNOPS? UNOPS has within their policies and procedures a sustainable framework, which is in writing, and you can have access to it through our webpage in the project. Now they are assisting me. So if you don't know the webpage, you can see it. These are guidelines that tell us how to favor our activities and join them with sustainability actions. You can find all this description in the sustainable purchase framework that is right here. And if you can see the picture, one of the aspects of this sustainability framework has to do with the DRIVE program. This program is a program that we work together with our suppliers, our vendors, to improve relevant aspects for the UN. Now, how has been the work and results that we have had in this 1.5 year that we worked together? In November, we met with a lot of vendors, and we will continue to do so. In these visits, wants to reach a common understanding on visualizing the future and the Agenda 2030. Not only our vendors have joined us by answering the form to know, to make a picture of where they're at, but they have also joined us in some specific improvement aspects that we were very interested in knowing, such as gender diversity and inclusion. In this aspect, you can see in the webpage the numbers, which are highly relevant for responses that we have received from our vendors. Over 720 questions that were referred, and we with this were able to know the practices which are very relevant in gender diversity and inclusion. So I really appreciate for the space that they have given us in this regard. I invite you to keep working together to have improvement plans, to contact us if we can work together with this, if you're interested in implement it before the call. Thank you, Maria Fernanda. Now, all the results that we have had in 2021, the improvements that we have incorporated in this bidding process, and beginning in 2022, are leading us to something that is crucial for us to provide supply. And how is it that we have managed to do so? This supply has been generated together with INSABI, with all the institutions and all the entities that helped us and with we work with to have a consolidated purchase and continuous supply. The exercise that we did throughout 2021 is the exercise that is providing, supplying medical materials or supplies from January to June 2022. Now, this is composed of 336 keys of medical materials and 548 keys for medication. We continue working on this and on those aspects that have raised as problems, such as logistical problems or payment problems. We're working them hand in hand so we can solve this in the short term. Now, today, we start with this opening that Maria Fernanda will lead in a few minutes, the supply period from July to December 2022 through our biddings. We will discuss later on our public and international bidding process is not the only acquisition project that we have. It's just one of the mechanisms that we have to provide together with INSABI to all the population. So in this exercise that we're opening up today, we are going to visit 274 keys for medical supplies and 360 keys for general medication. So we really believe that this systemic joint effort, and I highlighted the joint effort because a transformation project cannot be achieved with an autonomous work. So in this joint effort, we will be able to provide all the necessary supplies. Now, I won't give you a lot of details of the opening section because my colleague will do that, but I want to tell you that in this process, we are opening 80% for Mexican companies and 20% of foreign companies. Now, what countries are here? Austria, Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, Canada, China, Colombia, Spain, the United States, India, Japan, Switzerland, Turkey, among others. So we celebrate the international competency. We believe that this is healthy for the development of transparency. So we welcome you in this exercise. Now, something additional that I would like to convey when I talked about being we talk about opening an international bidding process, but we have other mechanisms to apply if necessary, since we always active with different ways and mechanisms. We are going to tell you about them, but I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the long-term agreements. Those of you who have not signed any agreements and expedite purchases. So we're going to tell you a final summary of all these topics at the end of the presentation. Now, because of time constraints and since we are close to the hour, I'm going to pass the floor to Federico so he can continue with the session. Go ahead. Thank you, Laura. Now we'll proceed with the opening of biddings once we comply with the bidding process. The steps are going to be the following. Maria Fernanda will show the status of the e-sourcing status before the opening of biddings. After the time has gone by, the status of the e-sourcing will be shown after the closing of the presentation of biddings. Then we'll download the reports from the e-sourcing system, and this report will upload it in UNGM in the www.ungm.org-public-notice-158225 webpage, as well as in the Documents tab for the project webpage, which is www.proyectosaludmexico.org-licitaciones.html. Now, to end with the conference, Maria Fernanda will show you the process to respond to requests. Now, I'll pass the floor to Maria Fernanda Cabrera. Thank you, Federico. Thank you, Maria Laura. Right now, you can see in the timer, we are in the e-sourcing system. We're going to open up the bids. We can see the counter here on the top. We have 1 minute and 13 seconds for the date that was indicated in the general tab. Now, right now, any vendor can be concluding, finishing up their bids as long as the counter does not reach 0. Something that was very important that we wanted to show you is that the system protects the opening so as no one from UNOPS can enter the bids or any other stages for the assessment before the limit is reached for the timing. So we have a complete transparency on that. We can go click on the tab of opening responses, and here we have the opening commission, which is all the members of the panel here. And when the counter reaches 0 here, then we will be able to see this other section to present the opening report for bids. Something that is very important to highlight here is that the prices shown shall be the prices that were entered per provider or supplier. Here we can see that the counter has reached 0. Therefore, I'll refresh my screen so we can see the button to be able to go into the report for the opening of bids. We're going to reload the web page. I'm going to go back in. Here we see it. Now we have the button, therefore we can go into the opening of bids report. Right now, we can see in the system that the total number of lots that were bid 274, we have received offer for 259 lots, and the total number of vendors offering are 59. It's important, as I told you, to know that the prices that are shown in this report that we will generate the PDF file to show it were entered per each one of the bidders in the sourcing in the tab details of the financial offer in field A, unit price DDP without VAT for volumes less than or equal to 100% of the quantity required in the bidding, called base unit price. To have clarity on this and to see it in PDF, I'm going to write that down in this comment text box. Let me correct the text. So right now I'm going to ask my colleagues if you agree with the comment or if you have anything to add, Federico. I agree, Maria Fernanda, no comments. Laura? Agree, Maria Fernanda. Go ahead. Great. And we can save the report. And with it, I'm going to finalize the opening event to download the PDS report. Let me check what is it that what's happening. You can see that the report will include a summary of the vendors, what is the name of the vendor, the detail, their country, how many lots they offered in that vendor, and we'll see in detail per lot how many bids were received and every lot what bid received and in what currency and price. Let me see if the system is going to let me save the report. I'll refresh the web page. Copy this as not to have to retype it again.
Nuevamente para... Bueno, creo que el sistema no deja traer datos.
I think that the system does not let me copy. So I'll rewrite what I typed about the prices. Again, the prices shown in the opening report were entered by each of the bidders.
Detalles de la oferta financiera en el campo. Nuevamente pido a mis compañeros Federico.
So again, I'll ask Federico and Laura if you can recheck that you agree with my text. Go ahead. Thank you, Maria Fernanda. Yes, I agree, Maria Fernanda. Okay, I'll save. While the report is generated by the system, I'll take this time to remind you that to see the lowest price does not mean that the bidder was the winner. Don't forget that all bids are subjected to the assessment of the assessment team and should go through all the stages. I'll generate the report so I can continue to explain. Don't forget that each one of the bids will be assessed in the preliminary assessment, and then there's a pre-qualification, that is the stage for people for pre-qualifications. They only going to review the letter and check that there have not been changes that have them make them lose their pre-qualification. Then we have the administrative assessment stage, and then the technical assessment, the complementary technical stage, and then we'll see how reasonable the price is and the financial capacity of the bidder. So don't forget that these might be the prices offered by bidders, but all bids are subjected to assessment. So now we'll have the report. Let me show it to you. In the header, we have the title, the tender reference, and the time and date when this report was generated, 2008 UTC, which is 14 hours and 8 minutes Mexico City's time. The summary that I have shown you in the system that we received or offers from or bids from 59 vendors. We have 543 bids for 274 lots, out of which 259 have bids. In this same front page, we have the note that I told you about the price that will be shown in this report. And then we have the detail that I have told you about the name of the company, their UNGM number, the country of the company, the submission date and time, and how many lots they offered. So we see all these details for 59 companies that participated, and then we have details for 274 lots. We can see how many bids they received. Here we have all details until 274 that they tell us how many bids each item received. Here we have it, the last lot, 274. And in the last part of the report, you can see the detail of the lot, the name of the lot with the key, what company is bidding, what's the currency, and the price that they allocated in the sourcing system. In field A, unit price. Unit price DDP without VAT for volume less than or equal to 100 of the percent of the quantity required in the bidding base per unit. Here we have bid 2, bid 3, and up until lot 274.
Los lotes que no aparecen en ese detalle.
The lots that are not shown in the detail is because they didn't receive any bids. So we can see that we get to lot 274. And then I can remind you, and I'll show you that this report will be uploaded to the project webpage, as well as the announcement in UNGM of this bidding. So I'll continue with the presentation so I can give you some recommendation in this stage, which is the assessment stage after the opening of bids. In this stage, the assessment committee can request clarification of bids to the vendors that presented any bid. When one decides to do a clarification, they'll send an automatic notification via email in the assessment stage. We please ask you to respond to this clarification request as soon as possible so you can make this process faster. Now, how can we do this? In the e-sourcing system, in the announcement when you presented the bid, you have this tab that is called clarifications during assessment. And here you'll see the request from UNOPS. Here we can see that we want to clarify the previous experience of the coordinator for training because this position is not clear. So this is just for a suggestion. If you have, for example, a delay request, you can clarify this here. You click on respond, and then after you click on there, you will see this text box where you can write down your answer, your response. You have different options to use different vignettes or different cursive or bold letters. And then you have this section in choose files, so you can add any file that you want to add in response to the inquiry. You can also drag and drop it here in this text box, and you can attach this file like that. After you finish, you click on present or presentar, and the system will notify the assessment team that you have responded to the clarification, and you can see it and download the document that you uploaded. So again, remember that you have to respond before the date and time that UNOPS requests you to. If you have a limit time frame to answer this request, always have limit dates that are reasonable, recording that these are historical documentation. So if you don't respond to this clarification request, your bid could be eliminated. And as per the basis, you should have the information at hand. So again, we will only accept responses through e-sourcing. So please, I'll ask you to be very careful. We know that we have vendors that are participating that have current contracts with UNOPS. So I'll ask you please not to use emails or contacts that you have for the other issues such as contract, logistics, or communication to send any file related to these bids, because if that is the case, that could be taken as a forbidden practice. And it is important also to tell you that UNEP has segregation of functions to guarantee transparency. That is why personnel from other areas are not involved in the bids. So it wouldn't be useful for you to send information related to this bid or questions about the assessment of your bid to your contact people when with current contracts. So please let me remind you that the only communication that is valid for this bidding is through e-sourcing when UNOPS requires it. It's not acceptable to receive information through other channels, so please take that into account. And also to remind you that if you have questions about deliveries, payments, or any other issues in current contracts, we won't be accepting that through the sourcing platform. That is why you have your own emails and contacts with the different areas such as logistics, contracts, or at some moment you may also contact communication area. So again, I repeat, don't forget that the only communication means for the bidding is e-sourcing, and is only for the bidding and not for anything else. Finally, if you want to see the status of the tender, you can go to the e-sourcing system through which you express your interest and your bid, and you can use your credential to connect and go to my operations or announcement, and you have 4 indicators for different states. For example, before the closing of the bidding, it was green, which is open. This is the stage when you can present bids. But now the status has changed to assessment. That is after the limit date. Once UNOPS has started the assessment, like we are right now, in this stage, we cannot receive more bids, but only the ones that we have received for today, as for today. And the blue is finalized when UNOPS has finalized the assessment and has determined which are the results of the tender. The fourth status is canceled if for an extraordinary measure UNOPS decides to cancel the bid, you'll see it in gray. So before closing this act, I wanted to show you that in the UNGM, we can see the opening report that we show you here. You can look for it for going ungm.org, opportunities and acquisition, as we look for the bid, and you can introduce or type down here the bidding number. And once you go into the file in the tab documents or documentos, you can see the report, the bid opening report, and you can download it and have access to the information that is presented here. Out of the 59 vendors and 549 offers, bids, including the detailed per vendor, the information of vendors, and the information per lot, how many bids were offered, and the detail with prices offered per lot. That is lot, vendor, and price, and the currency, of course. So I'll pass the floor to Federico to conclude this opening act. Thank you, Maria Fernanda. To close, our director, Laura Carrec, will talk about the strategies of UNOPS to secure supply in the second semester 2022. Laura, go ahead. Thank you, Federico. Today, we are very excited. We're very happy for this accompaniment that we have received in our bidding process, international public bidding process. So on behalf of UNOPS and INSABI, we really thank all the vendors for your participation. Today marked one of the acquisition offers or process that we have. We also have long-term agreement mechanisms, which allows to provide continuity to the supply through constant contact with the vendor that has this contract with UNOPS, having very competitive prices because these long-term agreements is fixed for materials or medications, and also to make the supply process more efficient. So this bidding process will result in more purchase orders, that is our contract, but also our vendors can receive contacts to sign long-term agreements. This is on the one hand. And the other hand, we also have a summarized acquisition process, which are very specific and allows us to reduce the time to secure the supply. And it allows us also to have timely supply, both for medication and medical supplies. On behalf of the UNOPS, the UN Office for Project Services, we really appreciate your presence for this event and the process. We will continue working together and have a great day. Thank you, Federico. Thank you, Laura. So with this, we are going to conclude this 346 for the acquisition of medical devices bidding for the supply is the second semester 2022. Let me remind you again that you can have the opening report in the webpage of UNGM, in the webpage that you can see in your screen, or in the project pages that will be uploaded today in www.proyectosaludmexico.org. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.